I choose Epip. Having just watched a gymnastics performance, I would like you to highlight the performer's strengths and weaknesses in skills, fitness and tactics. You need to prioritise a major weakness and give an action plan for this weakness that includes a timescale, coaching points and a progressive practices. I would then like you to explain the local and national opportunities for this performer and the health and fitness benefits of taking part in this activity.
After watching my performer, I've analysed her key skill strengths to be her handspring to 2. This is because her legs were nice and they kept together with pointed toes demonstrating plantar flexion. The agonist muscle during plantar flexion would have been her soleus and the antagonist muscle would have been her tibialis anterior. Her other major strengths would have been her leap series, as she demonstrated very good joint movement and flexibility. Also to do with flexibility, her full turning straddle jump was performed very well with plantar flexion and the extension of the knee hinge joint. Her main skill weaknesses, I said there was her flick during her tumble series, as her arms were bent and her hands were turned inwards, which could cause injury if this was done over loads of times, if she kept repeating the same mistake. Her handspring to 1 was also weak as her legs were bent and she didn't extend her legs, and her feet and ankles were dorsiflexed and they need to be pointed. Her handstand was also a weakness of hers during her routine, as her balance was off and she didn't have her legs straight in the air. There was an angle, meaning that her core strength was weak and would need to improve in order for her to demonstrate a better headstand. Her fitness strengths would be her flexibility, as throughout the routine she demonstrated a lot of movements with a good joint range movement, including her split leap and her full turning straddle jump. Also her dance included a lot of flexibility. Her explosive strength into her first tumble was excellent. She had a good speed run up, which allowed her to have better push off the floor, allowing her to fly better in her handspring to 1 and 2. Her muscular strength of her quadriceps and hamstrings were excellent in her handspring to 1 and 2, as she pushed off the floor and also had a rebound. However, she did jump out of the rebound, which would have lost her marks. So in order to not lose their marks, she could have included an actual jump, as in a tuck jump or a straddle jump, out of it, and then the judges wouldn't have been able to deduct from that. Her fitness weaknesses would be her balance in her headstand. She would need to improve her rectus abdominal strength in her core, allowing her to hold that better. Her cardiovascular endurance near the end also lacked. At the beginning it was excellent in her first tumble, but by the time she got to her second tumble you could see that she was getting tired, and this could mean that could be a reason why her second tumble wasn't as strong as her first. And her core strength was also a weakness demonstrated in the headstand and in some of the dance in her routine. For her tactics, I said that she could have included a spin at the beginning of her routine because it's required within a routine of gymnastics, and this would increase her start value, meaning that the judges would start deducting from a higher value, so she could make more mistakes without dropping as many marks. She could have put her hardest tumble first, which would have been her round off flip straight back, which she actually did second. And by putting it first, she would have had more energy and she would have been able to demonstrate and perform that to a better standard, meaning she wouldn't lose so many marks, and her legs would have been straight and her toes would have been pointed. She could have also included slower dance before her tumbles. This would allow her to get her breath back before she goes into the tumbles and prepare her body to do the movements that she was going to do. She used a great range of flexibility throughout her routine and also included this in her dance. This would have increased her start value of her routine, giving her a better chance of medaling at a competition. Her dance was also quite complicated, which made it more interesting to watch, and the dance was well complemented to her personality, and she expressed herself well through the dance, making it interesting to watch. I said that her priority weakness was her flick in her second tumble. This is because her legs were bent and her toes wasn't pointed, and also her hands turned in, and she bent her arms at her elbow joint. So in order to monitor her flick, I said that the action plan that I've devised for her would be over the space of 4 weeks, and she would do 2 30-minute sessions a week for this. Before the first session that she's going to practice her flick, you'd have to test her. You could do this by getting her to do 6 round-off flicks consecutively and see how many you've done to the correct standard, and compare it to the coaching points that I will say in a minute. At the end of the 4 weeks, you would then test her again and expect to see 5 out of 6 perfectly technical round-off flicks, and then you would say that she's improved. The coaching points that I've got for the flick is that she needs to start leaning back slightly with her ankles together with a 90-degree angle in her legs, and then you need to lean back, keeping your back straight. Lean back and drive for your hips and drive for your ankles. You then have to jump back, swinging your arms, and a flick is actually a flight element, so there should be a stage during that element where there's no body parts on the floor. In that extension, you need to make sure that your legs are not extended with plantar flexion of the ankles, and that your arms are straight by your ears. Your back should also be in a bridge position. Your hands will then go on the floor, and keeping your arms straight and your wrists facing forwards and your fingers facing forwards. And you can't, if you put your hands facing inwards, it will cause your elbow joints to bend, meaning that it's not technically correct. You need tension of the rectus abdominal muscles throughout this, as you then have to pull your legs over the top, and then your feet will go on the floor, and then you'll push your arms off the floor quickly and put them by your finish with your hands by your ears, with straight arms. And the progressive practices that I've got for her to develop with her flick is that firstly she'll practice the starting position. You can do this by getting a mat up the wall and get her to stand with the 90-degree angle in her legs. This will also strengthen her quadricep muscles, which are needed during a flick. Once she's got that, you could then, with the use of a coach, get her to practice the starting position again, but start leaning back, and obviously the coach will stop her from falling, and this will make her understand the position she needs to be in before she actually goes before the flick. You could then pile some crash mats up, 1 or 2 crash mats up, and stand in front of it. You'd then start in the standing position, swing your arms and jump back onto your back. She would then aim to lie on her back with her legs lifted, with tension of the rectus abdominal muscles, with her toes plantar flexed. Once the coach is happy with how that is going, you could then add a round off before the mat. So round off and then jump back onto the mats, demonstrating the same position. After that, you could use a flick machine, which is mechanical guidance, which is the flick machines allow you to get the correct shape and feel for the skill, allowing her to analyse herself and give herself intrinsic feedback during her performance. So the flick machines allows you to jump back onto it. You'll then be in the nice arch shape on your back and go back, and then you'll use your push off to land on your feet. Once you've used the flick machine, you could practice standing flicks with support, which is manual guidance. The coach would help make sure her arms are straight by helping her push off onto her arms. Once the coach is satisfied with how she's doing her standing flips with support, she would then be able to demonstrate them without support. If need be, she could use a crash mat in case her arms bend to reduce the risk of injury. And then the coach would be able to support a round-off flick, which could use a mat if need be, in case it increases her confidence, allowing her to perform better. After that, she'd be able to perform a round-off flick on her own, and hopefully this would be by the end of the 4 weeks, which then you'd retest her, asking her to do 6 round-off flicks again, and hopefully 5 or 6 out of the possible 6 would be performed to the correct standard. As the performer is an associative learner, extrinsic feedback is necessary from the coach. This will be throughout, and she'd need positive reinforcement to keep motivated and to increase her confidence, allowing her to develop with her flick. Also, to help her with her flick, she'd be asked to do strength at home by the coach. This is to strengthen her biceps and triceps brachii to allow her to push off the floor quicker, and also she'd be able to do middle body tension, which includes sit-ups and V-sits. Local and national opportunities for gymnastics. The local clubs in the area include Wolverhampton Gymnastics Club, which is obviously based in Wolverhampton, and Birmingham Flames, which is in Birmingham. These are clubs that offer squad level, which is cognitive and associative learners. Leisure centres also offer gymnastics classes, and they are advertised around. But leisure centres normally only offer recreational level, which would be cognitive learners. So normally this is done for fun. So this includes fun activities, positive reinforcement, and this is basically just for a hobby and not competitive level. So if you would like to participate as a competitive level, you would have to join a club, which I've just mentioned. Once you're in a club, you can go on to do competitions, which there's 2 competitions a year, levels and grades. The levels are normally in September and the grades are in March. The barriers for gymnastics include money. This is because being a recreational gymnast, you're probably looking at £6.50 an hour. And once you're in the squad, you're normally looking at £80 a month to participate. Time is also a problem because obviously, as I've mentioned, once you're in the squad, you will be training 3 or 4 times a week, 3 hours a time. So this can sabotage your school and social life, meaning that you have to manage your time wisely. Transport can also be a barrier, as if you're training multiple hours, this could clash with your parents' work schedule, so you might be reliant on public transport, which then again is also money, so you need to be careful of that. The national governing body is gymnastics has the only national governing body where Sport England fund under 14-year-olds. This is to ensure retention of participation, and it makes sure that their money is not wasted and it goes to the plan. This is because with gymnastics, they reach their potential at a lot younger age than other sports. They spent £6,500,000 to increase participation within 6 to 11-year-olds and also 14 to 25-year-olds. This money goes to coaches going to schools, to Talent Spot, and also it gives grants to clubs to get better facilities and better equipment. They also aim to keep 14 to 25-year-olds involved in the sport after their physical career. They do this by getting them involved with judging and coaching. Coaching courses for gymnastics starts off at level 1. You have to be 16 years old to do that. You can then do your level 2, then you can do your club coach award, and then you can go on to do your high performance coach, which is the highest you can get. The pathway for gymnastics, you start off at preschool, and which is under 5-year-olds. and this will just be fun activities to grasp the basics. You then go into recreational classes, which is normally coached by volunteer coaches, which are normally ex-gymnasts or gymnasts that are still participating in the sport but would like to put their time and effort into helping younger gymnasts reach their potential also. After recreational, you'll go to the squad, and from the squad you can go to the county. In order to get into the county, you have to trial. They'll do this by asking you to demonstrate your best skills. You'll also have to do strength and fitness and also flexibility tests. Your results from those tests will then be given to the head judge of the club, and they'll be analysed by the head coach, and then you'll find out whether you get in or not. From county, you can go on to regional, which is the same principle of how you get there. At regional, you train with the best gymnasts in your area, so the level of coaching is a lot higher, as the head coaches from all the clubs will be there to help you progress in your sport. From regional, you can be scouted and spotted to go to nationals, and if you get to nationals, you get to represent your country doing the sport. Benefits of gymnastics include muscular hypertrophy, especially in your biceps and triceps brachii, as they are probably one of the most used muscles in your body. With the correct training, you can also increase the strength of your fast twitch fibres, allowing better tumbling. The performer would benefit from muscular hypertrophy, as the stronger you are and the bigger the size of your muscles, the harder skills you can train, allowing you to develop your skills and perform harder, better moves at competition, allowing you to potentially win. The benefit also is cardiac hypertrophy. Your heart muscle will strengthen and can also grow in size. This allows your stroke volume to increase, which will decrease your resting heart rate, meaning that as a performer you can train for longer and you don't require as many rests, and your recovery time will be a lot quicker. Also, gymnastics can cause your tidal volume to increase. This increases the oxygen level intake to your working muscles, meaning that you're able to train a lot longer and a lot harder. It also increases the efficiency of gaseous exchange of oxygen going into your working muscles and carbon dioxide coming out of your working muscles. Gymnastics can also increase your joint range movement, as you obviously need to be able to demonstrate good flexibility within your skills. So the performer would benefit from this, being able to perform more difficult flexibility skills on the floor and beam exercise. It can also strengthen your ligaments, which can decrease the risk of injuries such as fractures, which would allow you to train more, as you wouldn't need time off for injuries. Other benefits include your confidence will be increased. Your confidence will be increased, as it's a very physically demanding sport and it takes time to get your skills. So once you have learnt a new skill, you'll feel more confident, and it can also improve your body image, which will make you feel more confident about yourself. It can increase your self-esteem, and it can be used as a stress relief from any troubles you're having at home or at school, because once you're in the gym, that's the time where you can just concentrate on yourself and forget about any worries from outside of the gym. It can increase your teamwork and cooperation with other members, as in order to be successful with gymnastics, you do have to do team competitions. So obviously your teamwork and leadership skills can also increase.